So hello and welcome to the first of what's going to be a series of Pride conversations. So I'm joined today by the amazing Emma Palethorpe from St James's Place, who's going to be telling us all about what SJP are doing for Pride. But Emma, let's get straight into this. Tell us a bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do that, Matt. Great to see you. So my name's Emma Palethorpe. My day job is with St James's Place, where I'm head of change for our Asia business. Alongside that, I have my gay job, which is I'm co-chair of our LGBT network, which is there to support, to educate, to promote our role as an inclusive organisation, and also to drive change as well.
Yeah. Well, I guess that change piece, given that what you do for a job professionally in the daytime, is very helpful for the DEI
Very,
world. So all
yeah.
about the change and the progress. I know one of the things today that you wanted to talk about was a bit about the concept of pride actually and why it's important to
Mm.
you. So share your thoughts with us.
Yeah, happy to do that. I mean, I was a teenager in the 80s, and as far as my little life in Nottingham was concerned, yeah, pride didn't exist. And I think even when I went to uni as well, I don't really recall it. But after graduation in the early 90s, I moved to London, and that's where I first experienced a pride event in, I think it was Mile End Park in the East End of London. And I discovered that there were people like me, and it was quite transformational. And I think often for LGBTQ plus folk, we can feel quite like outsiders. Well,
Yeah,
Pride's an opportunity for us to take center stage.
yeah,
Part of it's a celebration, and yeah, the rainbows, that's all great. But celebrating that diversity of minority sexualities and gender identities, not only that, but generating awareness around why things might be tough for
mm,
LGBTQ plus folk, and therefore why inclusion matters.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. That sense of feeling that you get from going to a Pride event and seeing a Pride
Mm.
event, I don't know about you, but just makes you feel good.
I
Um,
tell you,
you know,
one thing I absolutely love to see is, young folk, teenagers
mm,
wearing their flags like superhero capes.
yes.
It's wonderful.
So all about creating good and uplifting spaces, visibility, recognition. But I think the point you make as well. It is about thinking about the stuff that we still have to do, right, in terms of progress and making sure that we don't
Mm,
fall behind and become complacent. So yeah, really
yeah.
interesting. Now I know you've got a pretty, to say the least, a pretty busy Pride sort of programming for SJP. But do you want to share a few things about what your organisation is doing this month?
Yeah, absolutely. And anyone that's ever heard me speak before, I always talk about celebration and education when it comes to Pride events. And we make sure we've got a good mix of both. So on the celebration side, feeding people seems to be a common theme. So
Free
we
food.
had a free food, yeah. So we had a traveling tuck shop going around the office yesterday, selling bags of sweets to raise money for our foundation and for Mind Out, which is a
Fantastic.
mental health service for LGBTQ for plus folk. We've got a bake sale next week, and we've got a couple of rooftop parties, one at our offices in Lombard Street and one in Cirencester as well. And of course, we sponsored Cheltenham and Cirencester Pride, so we'll be celebrating there too. On the education side, we've really upped our game this year, and to tie in with the launch of a new learning app at SJP called House, and we've actually created a box set of content on there that doesn't just cover LGBTQ plus inclusion, but there's more wider D&I topics as well.
Great.
So we've got that's launched. Anyone can access that, our advisors, our employees, and everyone.
Mm.
We had a webinar on countering otherness earlier this week. And then we're arranging a panel interview for our advisors later this month, which talks about how best to support LGBTQ plus clients.
Mm.
And also we're in the pipeline, and I'll cross my fingers, I'm hopeful we're going to be able to launch this in June, is a little bit of an advisor facing microsite
Yeah.
that's going to give them kind of on-demand support on how best to support LGBTQ plus clients.
Yeah. I think what's really stand out there is the focus, of course, on enhancing your own internal ED&I, but
Mm,
this real commitment to supporting, charity organisations, and then
yeah,
critically thinking about how you can really translate LGBTQ plus into what you do as an organisation. Financial advice and planning, and making sure that your advisors are equipped to support LGBTQ plus people. So it's a real sort of multi-pronged approach that you've got there, which I think is really admirable.
yeah. It doesn't stop with employees.
Mm.
We've got getting on for 1 million clients. We'd be naive to think that a number of those weren't LGBTQ plus. And so you're making sure that our partners kind of understand and include LGBTQ plus clients in what they do is absolutely essential. Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing that is particularly amazing about SJP is that you have a great jam-packed sort of Pride Month, but you're doing stuff, throughout the rest of the year as well, which a lot of organisations actually, although it doesn't really apply to LGBT Great members because they tend to be really great, but you're making sure there's programming throughout the year. So I wonder whether you can share any sort of snippets with us, cheeky snippets of things that you've maybe got coming down the tracks in the next sort of 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, I mean, we don't stop. You're absolutely right. There is a constant drive to change and improve. And we track how we're improving, and we use 2 benchmarks for that. So we use the LGBT Great IIBT benchmark tracker, and we also use the Stonewall Workplace Equality Index, which we completed for the first time last year. I think our scores are good. I'm proud of them. And I'm sure others would be very envious of the scores we get. We want to do more. So, after Pride's settled, we will be focusing on, okay, let's look at where we are on these scores. Let's look at what we can do more. This year, there's been a lot of focus on client inclusion.
Yeah.
So it's how we support our advisors, all 4,500 of them, to go out there and talk to LGBTQ plus clients from a place of understanding and empathy. And there's a constant drive to try and make sure that our client processes are supported as well. So I'm working with our technology division on how we can best support non-binary identities, both in terms of the client journey and the product process as well. And we're actually at a stage now, interestingly, where we're looking at refreshing things like employee policies. So our trans policy, we put it in 3 years ago. So now we're going, okay, let's take another look at it. Is it still fit for purpose? So our journey is evolving.
Yeah, and arguably, inclusion's always it's continuous process, right? And keeping it fresh and making sure that you're ahead of the curve is a really good thing to do. But yeah, really enjoyed, finding out a bit more about what SJP is up to this month and what's sort of coming down the tracks next. Is there anything, sort of any final points that you'd like to add?
No, all I would say is it's Pride Month. Get involved, whether that's learning or just having a bit of fun and getting to know folk. The opportunities are out there. Get involved.
Get involved. Enjoy Pride. Celebrate. Well, look,
Exactly.
I appreciate your appreciate your time today. I know you're really busy, and look forward to sharing this with the LGBT Great community. So thank you.
No problem, Matt. Great to see you.
Thank you.